Hi, I'm Jessica Andre, the Director of Operations here at Prolove Ministries, where it's our passion to identify gaps in the pro-life movement and create solutions that fill those gaps, many times in collaboration with others. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this first episode of our Stubborn Hope webinar series. Our focus for these ongoing discussions is to highlight the gap-filling work in the pro-life space by our organization and those of our friends. Here with me today is Abby Johnson, our fearless leader, our CEO and founder of Prolove Ministries. And I'm so glad that we have a chance to talk together today. So Abby, we're going to start off talking about your inspiration for Prolove Ministries and why you started it in the first place.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this conversation. It was probably 2017 where I started to realize that there were a lot of things that needed to be filled. There were a lot of, I don't know, just kind of projects that I was doing on the side, and I was doing them under my first nonprofit that I started, and then there were none. But it really didn't fit what we were doing at And Then There Were None. And so I thought, what can we do to open this up so that we can do more in the pro-life movement? We can fill the gaps that we're all seeing, but not detract from the mission that we have, that we're called to do at And Then There Were None. And so I started talking to a few people, and I started talking about a possible sort of umbrella organization or collaborative organization to help other organizations come together. Because a lot of times in the pro-life movement, we are so siloed. Everybody has their own organization, they have their own mission, everybody's doing it individually. And I thought, that's really not the way. I don't think that's the way that God intended for us to work. I think that He intends for us to do this work in community with one another. And so we kind of got the vision together for what I thought this could look like. And we got it rolled out in October of 2019. And we have done just so many amazing things since then. There's the collaboration piece where we've brought together all of these amazing organizations, and we pray together, we share strategy, all kinds of different tips and things that we're doing together, and really supporting one another in the movement. There's no competition between these groups. It's really just collaboration and support. But then also the second piece is programming. So when we see something that needs to be fulfilled, we can do that in cooperation with our collaborative partners.
That's awesome. So way back at the beginning in 2019, what were the first steps that you took to launch the organization, and where did you go first? Like, what was your top priority?
So looking back then, I think the first thing that I really thought I needed to do was talk to people that were already in the movement and to kind of see what they thought, the gaps that they saw, that, they felt like these are things that needed to be filled. And so I talked to a lot of people. I talked to a lot of pregnancy center directors. I talked to a lot of leaders of other organizations. And one of the things that kept coming up over and over and over again was that single mothers need help. Single moms need help beyond the services that they're being offered right now. And I knew that was true because I was getting emails all the time from single moms saying, can you help me with rent? Or I need help with the car, or, whatever it was. And so I knew that was an immediate need that we had, an immediate opportunity that we had in the pro-life movement to kind of meet these women. These were a lot of times women that had chosen life, right? Through the help of a pregnancy center or the help of a church. But now they were saying, now what, right? I still need help, or I've had a crisis take place in my life and now I need help again. I need additional help, or I just need help to change the life that I'm in right now, right? I'm with an abusive partner or whatever it may be. And I just felt like we didn't have those support services. And other people I was talking to, they didn't feel like they had that support either. And even inside of pregnancy centers, the directors I was talking to, they were like, we don't have the support to pay people's rent. We don't have the support to be a case manager for these women, which is really, that's what they felt like they needed. And so that was kind of the first thing I wanted to do, was to dive into that space of case management, which was something that had not been done across the board in the pro-life movement. And so one of the first projects then that we started with Prolove Ministries was Loveline.
And that continues to be a large focus for our team every day. And a large percentage of our resources go to Loveline, because you're right, there is a lack of solutions out there for these single moms. And it's interesting how the culture has shifted, that this problem seems to be expanding.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's part of our desire, is to motivate other people to see that shift and want to step into that gap. So I think that's something you and I are working on as a new priority as part of Loveline, is how do we get pregnancy centers, maybe churches, other organizations that would be interested in case management to step into our program and learn from the model that the team here has done a lot through trial and error. And do you want to talk a little bit about those hurdles that the team has faced over time, and how that fortified the team? That gets into stubborn hope, right? The grittiness of the team through it all.
Yeah. So, you know, living life with each other is often messy. It's often complicated. Living life with those who need a new start can be particularly complicated and particularly messy. But it's those women who we really need to be doing life with. It's those women who really need us the most. And they need hard things. They need hard things. They need people who are tough, who can love them well, but give them honesty. And so, and they need people who, you know, have lived some life themselves, right? Who can say, I understand what you're going through. I know this is hard. And so, you know, in the beginning, we didn't really know. Well, I think at the beginning we didn't know how great the need would be. That was kind of the first thing. We didn't realize that we would be getting so many calls every day, so many calls every week. And so we kind of thought it would be this small thing, I guess, which is, I think that's the story of a lot of our lives, right? Where we don't realize the big thing that God is doing behind the scenes. And so I think that was kind of the first misstep on my part, was that I didn't really understand what God had in store for us and for this ministry. And so we started, and, you know, word of mouth is our best advertiser. And so I just started seeing on social media, just everybody, you know, the pro-life movement was saying, call Loveline, text Loveline. I was like, oh my gosh, are we going to have the resources to support all of this word of mouth that's going around? And so, you know, it's been a challenge because it seems like the needs are infinite. And in the beginning, I think because we didn't realize how overwhelming the need was going to be, we didn't know where to kind of set that boundary. And so that's kind of been a trial and error as well. You know, how much help can we give you? You know, is the help we're giving you, is that enabling a lifestyle that you're choosing? Or are we really helping you in these moments? And so, you know, knowing where to hold boundaries, knowing where to disconnect when needed, and to say, come back when you're ready. All of those things we've just kind of had to learn over the past few years. But I think now we have such a strong core team in place, and we have these amazing volunteers that walk alongside of us. I have no idea why they do the work that they do at no pay, but they're just so invested in what we do, and in the women that they care for, that they just keep going. And I think it's because they see the success behind our model and what we're doing. And now, a huge part of what we want to do now is to, like you said, bring this out into communities. We want pregnancy centers to latch on to this and to say, hey, we don't have to send our clients to you. We can do this in-house. Because really, that is the best solution, is if these women have face-to-face direct care right at home where they live.
Right, that community, that real relationship. I mean, we're doing as much as we can in the virtual space, and I agree with you. Our team and our volunteers are incredible, and it's such a wonderful thing to watch them all operate virtually. But there are limitations to that. There are women that absolutely need in-person care, and the best we can do is use our volunteers to look for resources local to their area and try to refer them out to get that local care, because we aren't equipped to meet all the needs. And that's okay. Like you said, you didn't really know where God was leading you when you started. And there is a refining process, I think, no matter what that looks like, whether it's an organization, whether it's us personally, there is a refining to see what is he calling us to do. So is there anything else you can think of as you look back over the last 5 years or so, moments where God really did provide divine intervention that shaped the path that Prolove Ministries was walking down? Is there anything you'd like to talk about with us?
I think one of the things that was really defining for me, one of the moments that was really defining for me, and kind of showed me that we were on the right path, um, was an instance. We had a woman contact us, and we asked where they heard about us from, and she told us that she had heard about us from her friend who was a volunteer for an abortion clinic. And we were kind of like, okay, what? Like, tell us again, what was that? And she said that her friend is a volunteer escort. So this friend walks people from their cars to the front door at an abortion clinic. And that the sidewalk advocates were out there telling women, you can go to Loveline. They can help you. Go to loveline.com. And so when her friend got home from her volunteer shift, she called her friend who was in desperate need of services, who was in an abusive relationship, was pregnant and needed help. And she told her friend, I heard the anti-choice people right on the sidewalk telling women to go to loveline.com, and I think you should go there and see if they can help you. And she did, and we did help her in really amazing ways. That to me was such a bridge, I think, um, showing that even people on the side, even people that are working inside of abortion clinics, trust us enough to take our referral information to their own friends, that they know that we are a reputable organization, reputable enough that they would refer their friends, that they know that the women that come here are going to get the care that they need. I wouldn't refer my friend to somewhere that I felt like they were not going to get sufficient care. And this person who is pro-choice enough to give up their time at an abortion clinic is going to refer their friend to a pro-life organization. For me, I thought this is one of the pinnacles of success for us. And we have people who call themselves pro-choice that are donors to us. And when we've asked them, why do you donate to us? They'll say, well, because there's nothing like this helping women in the pro-choice community. To me, that's a success, that we are able to effectively bridge that gap. This is such a polarizing topic. And so the fact that people are looking at our organization and saying they will help anybody in need, and they do it with dignity, they do it with the utmost respect, no matter where people, are falling on this pro-life, pro-choice spectrum, they will serve any woman with dignity and respect, and they show them value. To me, that was such a critical moment for me in this work.
And I think another thing from that story that we can take away is that God uses anybody.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter where you're working, what your views are, what your future holds. He knows, and
Right.
he can leverage that and work it into his will. So it's a really beautiful example of how God is leading our team forward and is giving us the needs that we need to meet. And it's something that we remind our staff and our volunteers about regularly, that we can't help everybody. We're not trying to help everybody, but we're going to meet the needs of the ones that God brings to us. And I know that's part of our other projects too, right? I know we have Mama Scholar, we have All My Options. Can you talk a little bit about how those got launched?
Yeah. So, part of the case management program is not just helping women right now, but it's really helping to set women up for success for all time. So, not just in this crisis, but how can we change their life forever? Um, and part of that for a lot of women includes higher education or some sort of certification um, for employment. And so that was one of the needs that I saw that was sort of unfulfilled in the movement. If a mom wants to pursue education, that is really an insurmountable climb for them. Looking at education costs right now, and I mean, I have a daughter that will be going off to college next year, and just looking at the educational costs for that is overwhelming. And so I'm thinking, if I'm a single mom and I have 3 or 4 children at home, I'm thinking, there's no way, right? There's no way I'm going to be able to achieve these educational goals and still provide for my family. And so they give it up. And then they take, small jobs that don't pay well, that put them right back into the situation that they were in when they called us. And so we started Mama Scholar to really help advance those educational needs for single moms, women who really have that desire to change their lives forever. And education might be one of their goals to help do that.
And that's a collaboration
It is
example.
a
So talk a
collaboration.
little bit about that.
Yeah. So we partnered with Embrace Grace on that and said, look, of course, any of our Loveline clients are eligible, but also any woman who's been through the Embrace Grace curriculum is also eligible. So we've had women come from Embrace Grace, and then also our Loveline clients also receive scholarships. So it's been really incredible to see the trajectory of these women's lives changed through having access to higher education.
And it's so fun when they tell us how they're doing and send us pictures of their kids at Easter and other fun little notes that we get to follow along with. And it brings joy to all of us to see them succeeding for sure. And then All My Options launched this last year, and that was the first new project I've been involved with. Tell us about that idea and what you love about that project.
Yeah. So we want, I think, a lot of times, I think especially, I mean, I'm a person that goes and prays on the sidewalk, and, um, you go to the sidewalk, and back when I first started going in 2009, every time I would go, I had this big accordion sort of, I don't know, 15 folder accordion pamphlet thing that I would take with me to the sidewalk, right? And so, if you happen to get the chance to talk to a woman, you're kind of flipping through this, okay, what are you here for today? Let me flip through my accordion pamphlet thing, so I can give you all the correct pamphlets. But we don't live in that day and age anymore, right? We don't live in a pamphlet age anymore. We live in a digital age. And so we wanted to keep up. with that sort of digital age that we're living in. And plus it's just a lot. It's a lot for volunteers to carry around this, accordion pamphlet folder everywhere you're going. And for me, I travel around the country. So it doesn't matter where I am. If I'm in, St. Louis, if I'm in Minneapolis and I have extra time, I'll stop on the sidewalk and pray. Well, I don't know what their local resources are, right? So this really frees anybody up at any point in time to be able to point to local resources in their area. And so we wanted to create kind of a hub, a one-stop resource directory for people, whether they're on the sidewalk, whether they're talking to a friend about something, about an unplanned pregnancy, whatever it may be. We wanted to create this hub of resources. And so that's what we've done through All My Options. We partnered with Sidewalk Advocates for Life on this project. They are using it on the sidewalk right now as we speak. A lot of organizations are using this in their sidewalk advocacy work. People are using it as just a resource. They have QR codes on the sidewalk that, women, as they're driving in or they're walking into the clinic, they can just punch that QR code, look up all their options. It's been really amazing. It was a labor of love, but something that we felt like people really needed. They need those local resources. And we needed to, I think, as sidewalk advocates and as pro-lifers, we have to continue to change with the times. And I say that all the time to people because I think in the pro-life movement, we get hung up on doing things the way that we've always done them. And so one thing I say all the time to people is that the only thing that we can be sure that won't change in our movement is that things are always changing. And our demographic is always changing. The way that we have to reach out to them is always changing. The laws are always changing. And we have to be up to date on all of that. We have to be ready to meet women right where they are as the times continue to change.
Yes. And the other thing I love about All My Options is it was a concept that a staff member at And Then There Were None brought up. So it's one of the examples of how our two sister organizations can collaborate together. Because generally speaking, we're serving different people with different needs, but there is some crossover. And we just work together as two teams to come up with a transition process so that if there is a woman that is with the And Then There Were None organization as a quitter, and she meets the demographic that we're serving over at Loveline, we now can help her in two ways so that she has an even broader support network. And I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and that has happened because we have clients that come to And Then There Were None who come to us because they were fired from the abortion clinic that they worked at because they were pregnant. And the abortion clinic did not want a pregnant staff member on their team. And so they will be forced into a situation. You either have an abortion or you don't work here anymore. And so a lot of women do succumb to that pressure and they have the abortion. But there are a few that stand tall and they say, no, I'm not going to kill my child. I'm not going to have an abortion. And they are indeed terminated from their employment. And so they will often reach out to us at And Then There Were None and tell us their story. And so now, these are women that also need resources. They need help. A lot of times they're, underserved in some way. They're uninsured or underinsured. They need resources. They need baby showers. They need support, right? They've had this huge change in their life, not to mention all of the trauma that they may have going on in their lives because of what they've witnessed in the abortion clinic. So it's an opportunity for our sister organizations to work together to provide excellent care for these workers who are leaving. So that's the whole crux of Prolove Ministries is collaboration. That's what we're all about. We're all about collaborating with one another and doing things together in community with one another in the movement.
And I love that so much that we collaborate with others because we aren't called to do everything. God wants us to do a specific thing. But then you're right, the way he wants us to work together is beautiful because it's like the body of Christ. We each have a different purpose. We each are set up differently, and our differences should unify us and not divide us because we need each other.
Right. Well,
And I think that's what's exciting about this webinar series is we are going to feature our wonderful affiliate organizations, that network of friends that we've built up that collaborate with us well so that they can share what their role is and how they're serving needs.
yeah. I mean, we can try to do everything, but we won't do it well. And so I think that's a lesson for all of us, is that God has gifted us, all of us, in certain ways. And so we really need to develop out those gifts that God has given us and focus on those specifically, right? And then bring in people that are gifted in these other areas, and surround yourself with those people who are gifted in those specific areas. That actually reminds me, um, our family has been watching the Olympics, and it reminds me of a story I saw about one of the male gymnasts who his only contribution to the team was on the pommel horse. And he doesn't do the bars, he doesn't do the vault, he doesn't do anything like that. He wasn't successful at all of those other events. He's not good on the floor, he's not like a tumbling guy or whatever. He's good at the pommel horse. And he made the Olympic team only because of that skill. And this guy's a genius. He's an engineer. He can solve a Rubik's Cube in under 10 seconds. He's like this amazing brainiac sort of guy, but he just happened to be excellent at this one event. And that was the only reason they brought him on the team. And he sat there the entire Olympics, cheering for his teammates, cheering for everybody as they were doing excellent in the all around events and all this kind of stuff. And then it came time for the pommel horse event, and they brought him out and he nailed it, right? And he's the person that helped them clinch the gold medal in the all around. And that was his only job, was to do that and to do it with excellence. And that's what we're trying to do in Prolove Ministries. We're trying to do what we do and do it with excellence, and bring other people around us who do what they do, and they do it with excellence. And that's what we're all about.
Absolutely. We collaborate. We don't compete with each other.
Mhm.
So what do you see going into the fall as we start planning for next year? What do you see as our most exciting prospects and maybe some of our biggest obstacles?
So, I mean, we're always looking to collaborate with other organizations. I think there's definitely room for that, and talk about further collaboration. So we're very excited about that. We're excited about continuing possible funding possibilities through statewide networks. Um, I mean, the need is here. The need is now. Roe has been overturned. And if I'm perfectly honest, I'm not 100% sure that the pro-life movement was ready in the sense of providing resources for women. I think we're seeing the fallout from that in the pregnancy center movement and in what we do at Loveline. Um, and so we're actively reaching out to groups who provide those sorts of services, helping to come alongside them and saying, look, you can do this. You can provide this for these women. Let us help you. Let us train you on how to do this. You do have the money to do it. Let us help you figure out where it's going to come from. And so we're very excited about those partnerships with pregnancy centers, church groups that are wanting to take on case management. I think this is the future of the pro-life movement. I think the future of the pro-life movement is indeed case management and walking with women long term if needed. So we're very excited about that. We're of course excited about any expansion of our program and what that looks like. We're in constant expansion mode in our program. When we first started, we started doing, just kind of this thing for single moms, and we're going to help you with your budget and finances and all this kind of stuff. And then we realized we need a really robust financial planning program. And so, now we have this amazing financial planning program that's really beautiful, and it's a very full program, right? A very robust program. And then, we realized, oh my gosh, we need a domestic violence program. And because the reality is that most domestic violence programs in your community, most rape crisis centers in your community are going to refer to the abortion industry. They're going to refer back to Planned Parenthood. We didn't want to send women, especially potentially pregnant women, into the arms of people who are going to send them to the abortion industry. And so many of our clients were coming from either sexual assault or coming from domestic violence situations. We knew that we needed to have a program in-house for that. So we expanded that crisis support program, and we need further expansion of that program, because I would say the majority of the women that come to us are coming from some sort of abusive situation. So we need further expansion. That we're always looking for partners to collaborate with. We're always looking for that. We want to go into as many communities as we can. We want to expand as far as we can. And I think that we are kind of paving the way of the model that shows how to do that and how to do it well.
Yeah. And I really love the program that we have for case management training. Now that we have more than 10 centers enrolled in that program with us, they do a 1-year commitment at a very low cost of $500. And then they gather with us quarterly, and we do some supplemental training. We pick a topic and go through it together, but it's really good to see these centers coast to coast, literally from Hawaii to South Carolina, getting together in a virtual space. And now they can start to talk amongst themselves. What are they seeing and what is happening with their cases, and what are some client situations they've been up against? Because like we already talked about, being virtual is a different experience than being in person. So the fact that we can provide this gathering space, this network of centers that can now rely on each other and they don't have to involve us, is a really fun and equipping and empowering thing too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really always inspiring to me just to see the types of clients that are being helped, um, you know, by Loveline and the centers that we collaborate with. I mean, I think of one client who was kicked out of her home. She found out she was pregnant, went to her parents. Her parents kicked her out, basically said, have an abortion or do it on your own. And she said, I'm not going to have an abortion. And her parents kicked her out, and she found us. And we were able to help her. And, she was so resourceful on her own, but she just needed a little bit of help. And she needed, I think more than that, encouragement to say, you're doing the right thing, right? You're doing the right thing, and we're going to be here every step of the way. And she had her baby, and she's finishing her educational goals. And it's been amazing to watch her grow up in this sense, right? And grow into her purpose as a mother. And that's been incredible. We had a story of a woman who was going to have an abortion because she didn't have enough space in her car for another car seat. And, for us, we may look at that and go, that's crazy. Like, why would you do that? But for a woman who does not have the means to get another car, but what are you going to do? Right? You can't strap one to the roof. What are you going to do? You don't have the means to put a baby in the car, and you got to get around, right? You got to take kids to school. You got to go to doctor. You can't just leave one at the house. So what do you do? And so for her, that was just a barrier that she could not get over. That was a hurdle she could not jump over. And so our answer was, we'll help you get a car. If we help you get a car, will you not have an abortion? And she was like, well, yeah, but you're not going to do that. And we were like, yeah, we absolutely will. And we did. And by the end of the week, she had a minivan that could transport all of her children, and a life was saved. And now she's, on a successful path as a mother, and her child is here and healthy. And we've been walking that journey with her. That's what it is to really transform lives and to save lives. It's not just about saving that that one life. It's about transforming lives. It's not about being transactional and saying, here's some diapers, now don't have an abortion. If it's just about that, then we're no different than the abortion industry. We're being completely transactional with the women that we encounter. It's not just that, it's about being it's about being transformational. It's about transforming their lives, not being transactional. And that's what we're trying to do.
And love is tough, and love is an action. And those are a couple other things that we say often, that charity isn't necessarily meeting every need, because we don't want to enable her. We do want to empower her. So sometimes love is tough. Sometimes it's a no, and that's okay. And that's good, because
Yeah.
God doesn't give us everything we want either.
Right. And sometimes the
And that's
no is exactly what people need to empower them. And that may hurt. Sometimes the no hurts. Sometimes the no hurts when I get it from God, right? But it means that I'm supposed to take a different direction. And sometimes that's what it means for our clients as well. But it doesn't mean we leave them. It means that we empower them in a different way.
and that's why this webinar series being called Stubborn Hope to me is so beautiful. What did you think when you saw we were naming this Stubborn Hope? Did you know that I'd be really extra happy about that?
Yes. I thought that sounds like Jessica. It sounds like something she came up with. Yeah, I mean, that's who we are. We don't give up on people. We are, I think, by nature, all pretty stubborn. I think you have to be pretty stubborn to do this kind of work. But we don't give up hope, and we never give up hope on transformations, on conversions, and God never gives up on us. And I've seen that in my own life. And so we're called not to give up on one another.
And I've seen it in my life too. The fact that God can take ashes and make something absolutely beautiful and transformational, and just wanting to share with all of you why Stubborn Hope has a special meaning for me. It's a phrase that I claimed for myself shortly after my husband died unexpectedly 3 years ago. And since he went to be with Jesus, God really has taken the broken pieces of the life that I wanted and couldn't have anymore. And he's recompensed me by building me a life that would not have been possible before that tragedy. So the new thing that he's doing does include working with the amazing team here at Prolove Ministries. We are led by the Lord to do the work he has for us. And I'm absolutely convinced of that, because I know I wouldn't be here if he hadn't taken those ashes and turned them into something beautiful.
Yeah, we're so thankful for you and that you joined our team, and just at the right time too. I feel like we have such an amazing team, a very Holy Spirit led team now. And I think that God is doing amazing things through our ministry, and will continue to do amazing things.
So I want to close us out in prayer. That's something that I think is incredibly important as we go forward. It's something that we will be doing in every episode of this series. So is there anything, Abby, that I can pray for you in particular today as we close out?
Well, my kids are going back to school in a week and a half, so we get back to the grind. So I guess no more sleeping until like 7:30. I have to get up at 6 now. So yeah, I guess and that's for a lot of kids. A lot of kids are going back to school around the 13th or 14th. So
I think that's a really good thing to pray for our whole team. Yeah. I think I counted the other day in our small team of less than a dozen women, there's over 40 children. So there is a lot of moms doing a lot of good work, and they absolutely would appreciate our prayers. So I'll close us out. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk together and share with our people listening in the work that you're doing in us and through us, through Prolove Ministries, and the challenges that have been faced, and the joy and the trust in you that we have as we face what's in the future. And thank you for giving us stubborn hope and building that into the character of who we are individually and what makes this organization unique and strong in one part. I do want to pray for all the moms on our team, Lord, with school-aged children and the start of a new school year. And everything new is hard, as Abby and I talked about. Change is hard. So we know there's some challenges as they enter that new phase. And just pray for Abby and all of our team that they are the mom those kids need to be, because we know that's true. We know they absolutely are the mom for those kids, because God, you gave them these kids to mother and to raise up in your will. And just thank you for that. And thank you for this time together, and bless everyone listening in Jesus' name. Amen. So thank you all for joining us. We do want to let you know that our funding does support all of our projects, the ones that we've talked about. Loveline is the majority of our needs right now. And as we shared with you, they are real. And we're doing our best to steward those resources. But if you would like to donate and become a supporter of our work, we would absolutely cherish that. And it would allow us to keep expanding into some new exciting areas that we would like to do within case management, as well as to continue to serve women with children, as well as pregnant women. So thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful day.